Hi everybody, welcome back to Building the Bookshelf. So the topic of today is how can you be a book baller on a budget? Jennifer loves alliteration, so we're going all the way, right? I've talked about before, I love reading, I read a ton, and honestly, I can't support my reading habit if I have to buy all of these books outright. And I think a lot of people are in that same boat that like, hey, I want to read all of the new releases and the new titles, but I only can buy a book or two a month. So how can I make sure that I'm staying up on everything that's out there, but still make it work in my budget? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first tip that I have for you is do not sleep on your local library. Okay, now libraries have come a very long way over the last how many ever years. I think we all probably have an idea in our mind or a memory of, the dusty old library that smelled a little funny with the card catalog situation. I realize I'm probably dating myself here, but not all libraries are like that way anymore, right? Or, a library book that's going to be dirty and have pages stuck together with Lord only knows what they're stuck together with. We just won't even go there, right? Again, libraries have come a very long way. And the majority of my reading now is through library books because, like I said, I just can't afford to buy every single book that I want to read. So your local library probably has more resources than you even realize is out there in the world. So, you might be living in an area where you say, well, my library is super tiny. They don't have the new releases. I'm waiting a year later. That might be the case, but hey, have you checked out if there's any reciprocal borrowing agreements that they have? So what is a reciprocal borrowing agreement? Well, it can work in a couple of different ways. They might allow you to go visit another library that's close by, whether it's in your county or whether it's in your state, just depending on the area that you live in. And you can also borrow for that library that might have some more titles, more of a selection of what you're looking for, and still be able to use it with your local library card. Now, they also might have an option where you can request to have those library materials brought to your local library, put it on hold and they'll bring it to that library. You might have to wait a little bit of time for it, but that's a great way also where, you don't have to be traveling all over the place chasing down all of these books. You can just put it on hold and then they'll actually bring it into your local library and you can return it there as well. Now, as far as the hold lists go, I really try to stay on top of the hold list for myself. If I know that there's a new release coming out that I want to make sure that I'm in line for, they usually in the library will have in the online system where you can go in and place a hold far in advance of when that book is actually released. So you're already further in line. And that also helps the libraries too, if they see that there's a demand for a specific title, often they will then end up ordering more copies of that one title. So it's not always that you're, one person waiting in a line of 250 people for this one title, then they might actually be able to have more of the titles that support that demand. Now, if you don't have a on-site brick and mortar local library that you can go to that has a lot of selection, there's also a ton of online options that are available. So none of this is sponsored by any stretch of the imagination, just resources that I have been able to use. Libby is a great one where they have eBooks. You can read it on your Kindle, or if you have an Amazon Fire tablet that you can read on, and you check it out just like you do, an actual paper library book, but you can have the ebook version of it. There are also many audiobook options, that also can go through Libby, or there's Libro that you can use. Same thing, and you can just check out an audio version of whatever it is, whatever book that you're waiting for. And they also have waiting lists or hold lists if the title that you're looking for is not available. The other thing that's really great with your local library or with an e-library, they have movie options too. Like Canopy is one of them. Canopy with a K. I'll put the link in here for you guys too, but that can be a great resource where you can watch documentaries or you can watch movies or check out music. Usually with Canopy, it works like credits. You have a certain number of credits every month, but those continue to refresh. And same thing there. If there's a title you're looking for, you can request it your library, order it, put it on hold, and it's all free. It's part of the community resources. You might even be able to check out those books through eBooks or audiobooks from a library that's outside of your area, but that they offer those digital resources to you because, they're passionate about making sure that people have the reading materials and access that they're looking for. There's even some delivery services, if you're limited by mobility or transportation, where they'll actually come and deliver the resources to your house, which can be a great option. I know at my local library, they still have an option of drive-up services that they've been doing since COVID, where you let them know you're on your way and then they'll come right out and they'll bring it right to your car so you don't even have to interact or be out in the public with, other people in the community if you're concerned about that from, an infection standpoint or whatever the case may be, but they have rows and rows at my library of books that are on hold. That's what I use. And then, I'm usually at the library a couple of times a week, honestly, because I'm cycling through these books and then the next ones that I put on hold have been available. And, I always try to be a good patron of the library. As soon as I finish a book, try to return it so that it is available for the next person. The other trick that I found with library books is sometimes they'll have different formats. So it might be a large print or something that's not as popular. Now I always wait, if there's a waiting list for it and I don't need the large print version, I take myself off that list because I don't want to take it away from somebody else. But especially some of those popular titles, they might order the large print version and that's just available and no one's using it. So it might be available for you to use. That a lot of libraries do is they'll have a Friends of the Library sale program where, a couple of times a year, they might be clearing out some of their older inventory. That's a really great place where you can, get discounted items, and then it helps support your local library and your community as well. So that's another way that you can participate with some of the library programs. And most of the library programs also have donations that are available. So if you have books that are sitting on your shelf that you're not going to read, it's a great opportunity to be able to give it back. Another really great local resource are those little community libraries, the little library boxes that you see around that might be in someone's yard or it might be outside of a rec center. I will also attach the link where you can find if you have any of these in your neighborhood. So the way that these work is it's a concept of share one, borrow one, and bring it back type of situation. So they are completely free. It's people in your neighborhood who have brought books to the little local library, I'm saying in air quotes, it's just usually a little box. Sometimes people make it really cute, but like I said, they're by parks or outside of people's yards, and the books are free. You can take a book and then you can bring the book back after you're done with it. Or again, if you have books that you're not going to reread, you can feel free to donate it to the little local library, which is a great way to, on a budget, be able to have some more titles. And I really love it when I put a book in there and then I'll come back, a couple days later or a week later and it's gone. That means that somebody else is enjoying it. That makes me super happy. And usually you'll find that there's children's books, there's adult books, there's the full range in there for everybody to enjoy. A third option to get books at a discounted price is thrift stores. Again, don't sleep on your thrift store. Sometimes you have to go in there on a more frequent basis. If you all have noticed like a Home Goods or TJ Maxx where when they get their new shipments in, that's when you kind of have to go in and see what the new inventory is. Thrift stores work a lot of the time the same way, but you can get $1, $2, $3 books in there that are perfectly fine quality that somebody maybe just read one time. So that's a great place to look for them. A lot of times they'll do book swaps too. Again, if you have books that you're looking to offload, you might be able to do a trade. A lot of used bookstores will do that too, where you can do a trade for books, and they also have books that are at a much discounted rate. And it's a little bit of a treasure hunt, right? When you go into like a used bookstore or a thrift store, if you're looking for a specific title and you find it, that's a huge win. I try to be really open when I'm looking through used books and not be set on a specific title. You might find your next read that you wouldn't have considered otherwise if you weren't looking through that specific store. And then of course you have your local independent bookstores. So I feel very strongly about supporting local independent bookstores. It's tough to be a small business owner out there. I'm not going to get too much on the soapbox. You can do a lot of reading about that, about, some of the damage that big box stores do to authors that honestly I didn't even know about until I went to an author event and they were explaining what that does. But like I said, that's a video for another time. But I really try to support independent bookstores whenever I can. But honestly, the pricing most of the time is not that different, right? So if you follow your independent bookstore, get on their newsletter list. They usually have online options as well. But in the independent bookstores, a lot of times they'll have a membership that you can sign up for a nominal amount where you get discounts throughout the course of the year. Even if you don't do the membership, if you're on their newsletter list, they'll let you know when there are sales, and they usually will do sales that go through the typical cycles like a Black Friday or a spring sale or a 4th of July blowout. They'll usually do sales at the same time that some of the big box stores are doing sales as well. So like I said, cost-wise, it may not actually end up being any more supporting your local bookstore if you kind of get in their rotation, or if they are doing, at the end of the season, there might be some of the newer titles that just came out, a month or two ago that you can get at a significantly discounted rate. So just kind of being in their cycle. A lot of times local independent bookstores will do different author events, or they'll do a signing event, or they'll do a big push if a big title is coming out. And that again, oftentimes is another good opportunity where you can get some discounted rates. So again, nothing, magical here, but just don't sleep on your local library and some of the community resources that you might have available. Those little neighborhood libraries are great. Used bookstores, thrift stores, and then being kind of on that rotation of sales with your independent bookstore, you can get a feel for where the best time might be. And if you're anything like me, in my notes app, I have a mile-long list of the to-be-read titles. And so sometimes I can kind of pop those in and out as it works out with those different resources. So I hope that this helps, and I will include links for some of the resources that I use. Again, not an ad, not sponsored, just want to give you guys some of the resources that might be helpful to your reading journey.